I mean, I know a lot of people that talk about 9/11 say how it changed their life, but I actually had an interview in building 2 on 9/11 at 11:30 a.m.
Oh my gosh. Today on the Mom's Wealth Club, I'm sitting down with a woman who embodies what happens when faith, courage, and business wisdom all move in the same direction. Barb Posada is a former corporate professional who stepped out of the predictable and into a life of purpose-driven entrepreneurship. And she's one of the women behind Lynn, a private lending group that supports investors with capital built on strong relationships and integrity. Barb and her partner purchased their first RV park using creative finance, and they just signed on their second, a boutique hospitality style resort with riverfront access, glamping options, wellness amenities, and year round experiences coming soon. She's a mom, a believer, a business owner, and a woman who leads with both strategy and heart. Today, we get to hear how she built all of this and what she wants other women to know about stepping into ownership. Barb, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Lynn. It's great to see you, and I'm honored to be on your podcast. So I think a lot of what you said is exactly true. Only thing missing was I'm a grandma too. So I love to spend time with them and I'm very family oriented. Everything that I do in life, though, that is my why, is my family. I want to make sure that what I'm doing is going to align with what are needed, lessons to learn, teaching my kids what they should be looking into in their future, and just making sure I'm supporting them along the way.
Absolutely. And so just a little sidebar here. It's so funny because we got like 12 inches of snow in the last couple days up here in Illinois. And I see you, I know you're in Florida and you're in this adorable red tank top. And I
It's
love it.
hard. It's hard. Yeah, I don't think I own any real coats anymore. I truly miss the snow, though. I miss the 4 seasons. So this is pretty much my attire all year long. But yeah, I think it's definitely something that you have to acclimate to. I don't think I fully have done that. My husband, on the other hand, he's turning on heaters, and I'm just like, we're in Florida. What are you doing? Here I
That's
am.
hilarious. I always say I'm a Chicago girl dreaming of Florida.
Well, come on down. I mean, like I said, there is something to it that makes you feel, no pun intended, but warm and fuzzy, or pun intended, I should say. It's very different than what I grew up with. So I still try to find the things that can make me feel good being here, but I will always miss her, always.
I get it. So you're a New York girl.
From the Bronx, the Boogie Down Bronx. Yes, I visit up there because my folks are still there. We enjoy the time we have together, but they're older. My mom is 81, my dad is 92. We almost lost him a couple of times, one in 2020 and again in 2023. So it's difficult because I handle all of their medical, like I'm their healthcare proxy for everything, and it does bring a challenge into it, but we'll see. We'll continue to coax them and tell them how important it is to be close to family at this stage of their life.
Yeah, it's a lot, but yeah, their whole life is there.
My mom told me the other day, and I will quote her. She said, Barbie, listen, I can be blind and walk through the apartment and know where everything is in its exact place or if it's out of place. And she says, I can't create that somewhere else now at this age. So just kind of make sure I'm talking with them every day, which I do.
So you have a lot on your plate. You're a wife, a mom, a daughter taking care of our parents and anybody that's going through that. And I help with my parents' medical stuff. It's almost a part-time, full-time job also.
Yeah.
And the older they get, especially with all the scares, it becomes more time consuming. And in the meantime, you're building something huge. So I don't even know where you want to start. Like if you want to start at the beginning, how you came into this from corporate. I love to hear your story.
Sure. It is quite a story. Yeah, try to trim it down a little bit because sometimes when I get into this, I'm talking for a long time. I did spend over 15 years working in Manhattan. Started in Big Four firms, and then I jumped into hospitality. I was working for Starwood Hotels and I transferred down to Florida because after 9/11, things got really tricky. I couldn't work in the city anymore. I was commuting through bottlenecks of traffic every single day to work in Connecticut. And then it just changed my life. I mean, I know a lot of people that talk about 9/11 say how it changed their life, but I actually had an interview because I was out of work because my daughter was born in 2000 and I was just about to head back to work. And my former boss had set me up with an interview in building 2 on 9/11 at 11:30 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
So before that, my mind was very in the corporate space. I never, ever, ever thought I would do anything but work in the corporate arena there, especially because my dad is one of those success stories that went from moving to from another country, but my mom and dad are both from Hungary. They came into this country, didn't know any English, but fast forward, he was the VP of a huge financial corporation in Manhattan. So I took pride in looking up to him and wanting to emulate that for my life. He was the perfect role model. And so that's where my head was. But then, like I said, after 9/11, my husband was like, let's move to Florida. And I was like, are you crazy? I don't want to live in Florida. Like New York is, people make fun of Florida. I don't want to go there. And all jokes aside, I just could not imagine not being in New York where my life was. So I transferred down there and stayed in the hospitality industry for 14 and a half years just before the 15th year came up. And, there were some trials and tribulations anytime after 2020. Everybody was just, we were working from home and it was difficult, but we made it through it. And then they were calling us back because everything was about communication and people and connections. And I can totally relate to that because my former boss used to call me the networking queen because I always want to make sure that I have the opportunity to meet with people, learn from them, offer my whatever value I can bring to them and what they do. And it always helps me learn more. So that's kind of my thing. And while I used to laugh about it, I said, it's pretty true. I mean, I didn't care if somebody was the CIO or what have you. I mean, they're people and they're definitely people you can learn from their experience from. So I would set up time with all of them and they'd all meet with me. So that's kind of where the networking queen came into play. But certain things were changing. Roles were changing, people were doing different things. My focus was because I'm Six Sigma certified, so my focus was on process improvement initiatives and change management. They were really diminishing that role into something that I was not truly happy with. I mean, I love the company. I know I could have done other things, but that was what I felt the most passionate about. And during that time, I had caught a little bit of a clip on, real estate investing, and it intrigued me because my son has a construction company that my husband, they work together. They've done some flips for us. It was it had to be tragedy that brought this on to our family, right? We had a flood in the downstairs area where my son and my daughter, and at that time my 3-week-old grandson lived. During 2020, we know we didn't want anyone in the house. It was very weird, and they just decided to do it themselves versus have someone else come do it. So my son said, "Oh, well, why aren't we fixing and flipping? It looks like people can make a lot of money doing this." So once I saw this kind of clip, I said, "You know what? I'm going to dig into this a little deeper." So I started getting involved in some trainings that were online, and I kind of took that to the next step, obviously as a part-time thing while I was working. But I felt like, I wanted to take it to the next level, but that struggle between W-2 and entrepreneur was really a struggle for me. And I think the main kick in the pants that put me into the kind of this life was if I didn't give full-time dedicated focus to what I was doing in the real estate investing world, I didn't think I could be successful because it truly requires focus, um, dedication. You need to put some time into meeting people and learning from people like I did. So I thought, okay, you know what? Next year, I think I'm just going to pull the plug, leave on a high note. I opened myself up to be able to come back anytime. And I thought, I'm going to do this. So I did. I stepped away, and it was a little terrifying at first because my whole world shifted. It wasn't about getting to work at this time and having 20 meetings all day or whatever. It was, I have to figure out what my schedule is going to be. And I met lovely people along the way who really made me feel like this was so possible, and just to keep my head forward. And they were right. I took the time to really fully acclimate into all these different methods of real estate investing. And initially, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I wholesaled a couple of deals in the beginning. I fixed and flipped a couple of properties. I ended up, I guess, wholetailing a property. And then there was another one that we just sold from purchase to doing nothing to selling it on the MLS, and we made almost $80,000. And that was with a couple of partners. That was good. I was actually just recovering from a surgery, so there was a very limited amount of things that I could do to tend to it. And they were great partners, and they believed in me, and we made out well. So then the next thing came along. That's where I met my amazing partner, Caitlin Falk. She has truly changed the trajectory of this entrepreneurship journey that I've been on. She was very kind. She was looking at that same property that we sold for the under 80,000. It didn't work out for her, but she took the time to explain to me why it didn't work for her, which again was not just educational, but it was kind, because not everybody offers that kind of information. So of course I learned more from that. That's when my dad was in the hospital. So I'm speaking with her from the hospital, and she knew what was going on in my world at that moment. And being the wonderful person that she is, she continued to follow up with me, like, how are things, how's your dad? And we just built a friendship around it that is not, I feel great about partnerships if I feel great about the person. Caitlin is she's hesitant on partnerships unless she thinks that there's a real close bond and trust, and never really got into partnerships before. So that only made me feel better when we decided together that, hey, why don't we start a lending company? I mean, she had already started it, but she wanted me to partner with her. And that's where She Lend started. And from that, we've done, oh gosh, I don't know, maybe close to 50 lends at this point, because we are hard money lenders, private money lenders, commercial. So it's really opened up. And then we hired an employee who specifies on the DSCR side. So it built a bigger name for us. Once we started with the lending, it was just mind blowing, because we had attorneys on retainer, we had all our docs that we can trust and feel that they were helpful and protecting both parties always. Then came along, our employee was contacted by a local attorney in Texas and mentioned that there was a gentleman there with an RV park who is about to lose his park.
So that is this transition that opened your world to RV parks. Is that right?
Definitely say that, because our was the first park, so definitely a new chapter for us, or a new lane, I would say. Our employee was contacted by a local attorney in Texas, and the gentleman who owned it at the time was in a very, very bad financial position. And unfortunately, no product that anybody had was going to lend him any money. So with that, Caitlin and I decided to give him the best option possible, which was he was going through bankruptcy. He almost lost it through foreclosure. So going through bankruptcy gave us an opportunity to present our LOI as the bankruptcy plan. And after 10 months of litigation, it finally closed. And we were super excited. It's a long-term RV park. And, it gave us a good foundation to decide if that was what we wanted to continue to pursue, which we absolutely feel that way now. We've learned a ton. We've, I think, answered a lot of questions we might have had before about what does it take to run an RV park, an RV park. What will we need that we don't already have in place? Because there were people there already. And so, the idea of winning them over, right? And having them trust us in the new ownership place, you had to be there. Just like any other transaction, you need to be present, And that's how you can gain people's trust. And that's very important to us because we act with a great deal of integrity in business and new acquisitions and everything. So that's really important to us.
So how'd you win them over? What did you do?
We went out there. We had shirts that we decided to have marked up with the logo. And it was actually Caitlin, my son, and myself who went out because there was some construction things that needed attention, like new camera system, new mailbox system, quite a few little things. And, he was there with us to do it. So that made it even more, I guess, fun for me to see that, our family has a true bond to be able to do this kind of work together. But yeah, the tenants there were happy to see people on there for them, like I think they enjoyed seeing that somebody was paying a great deal of attention and they were making so many positive changes to the existing park that they had been for many years. So I think that made a huge difference. I think if we were not local and we didn't show up, it might not have gone that well and people might have just taken off and said, I'm not staying here anymore. But that, we haven't struggled with that, but I think we would have terribly if we didn't show up. So I think that's key.
So how many pads are on that? Like, what does that park look like financially, whatever numbers you want to share?
Of course, yeah, no problem. At the moment, it's got 35 pads. There are 9 cabins. So it's a mixture of cabins and RVs, or RV lots. And there's a pond that people can fish in the back. It's got some nice green space in the middle where people and kids and dogs are all playing. It's very pretty. It's very, very pretty. And it's right on Highway 6, which is a great location for anybody working in that vicinity. It really does help attract people that way. I think in the beginning, before we were really exposed to the tenants, it was a challenge thinking, how are we going to, put us in a place where we have people coming all the time? And, the owner did not leave a very good taste in some of the people's mouths. I hate to say it that way, but it's true. We knew we were taking on a park that was not intended to be making money right away because we were paying off his debts. And we knew that as we grew and improved and put more into the park, we would eventually hit where we're starting to put it in our pocket. But we really truly wanted to take whatever was coming in and invest it into the park, to give them a better experience, to give them some attention, to know that we're there for them. And, we want to make their home feel like a community together. We do have some spots open that we are now marketing so that we can get them filled up. And I mean, at this point, we're not expecting to make a great deal of money until the terms are over, and that's 4 years. So we're probably at 3 now.
So that's like an investment, right? You got to put the money up, you invest your time, your energy, your blood, sweat, and tears. So what is the difference between an RV park, long-term RV park, and a mobile home park?
So an RV park, aside of the cabins in this particular situation, they can all move, right? They're on wheels, they can move out. The mobile home park, and for example, it's not typical, I don't think, to have many RV parks that are long term. A good majority of them are more the transient type parks where they're coming in and out or they're weekly or what have you. So I think the biggest difference when it comes to mobile home parks is that they're all stationary. I mean, I think you can go to the lengths of getting something removed, but it's intended to be for people who want to stay where they are, right? So they're renting to stay long term. But yeah, the structures themselves are what's different, right? The RV is just sitting on wheels, and the mobile homes, some of the mobile homes are gorgeous. I mean, just they don't appear as mobile homes once you're inside of it. So, but that's the major difference, really.
And so I think you went under contract on another, was that a mobile home park, RV park? Like, tell us about that park and then
It
how that's going.
Of course, yes. So it is a transient park, very boutique style, beautifully maintained and kept by the owners. They've opened since 2020, where it was just a piece of land, and now it's a beautiful park. It has a camp store, it has river access, it has 51 pads. And it also has a barefoot beach, they call it, which is just a pond in the center. People can swim in it. And it's location wise, it's perfect for that area of North Carolina. We went through an awful lot with this park. I mean, to kind of give the same example as the first park in Texas, we showed up. You know, we knew it was available. It came to us. We looked into it deeper. And actually, just to tell you, the way it came to us was actually a bird dogger based on Pace's bird dog challenge, right? So Christy came to us and said, we've got a park here. I've already talked to the broker. Here are all the financials. And we just jumped right away. And I think within a couple of days, we had already scheduled our first visit out there, and we didn't have anything in right other than we didn't even have an established LOI yet. So we just wanted to like go meet them, give them confidence and reassurance that we are the right people to be able to take this park over. And we all aligned very well. I mean, we lots of happy tears and things like that. So it was really, really great. Our minds were just flooded with creative ideas and things that we wanted to do to enhance the park because it's basically turnkey. But the fun side and the creative side that we were never able to utilize in the park in Texas was now an opportunity that we were really, really excited about. And I say lots of were and all of that because unfortunately, some owners are way in the weeds of being like personally connected. And unfortunately, there were some things that, as being investors like ourselves who really want to make sure that everything is protected, a lot of that really just was not comprehended by the sellers. The sad thing is it happened post signed contract and it kind of blew us away a little bit, but we literally had to make the hardest decision of our lives to walk away from that.
Oh, wow. So this is new.
Because we've been posting. I mean, I try to be as social out there for every reason, right? For to encourage people to do things that they're maybe too afraid to do or don't think it's possible. And I love to encourage people. I'm not a bragger. I like to encourage people to realize that there are things that they can do even if they think they can't. And yeah, I mean, I've said nothing but we're ready to go. We got a contract. We're good to go. All these things. And so we plan on sharing that more publicly now because again, things like this are going to happen. You've got this thing in your head where you're ready to move on and do some great things, and then someone pulls the plug for one reason or another. And it was us. We had to make that decision, but it was based on just misalignment, I would say, with the sellers, and again, their personal connection to it, where maybe it wasn't the right time for them to sell. Maybe they really wanted to kind of stay, but kind of not, and just we're kind of in the middle. And we didn't want to continue to put more time and effort into it for both parties. We wanted to be respectful of everybody's time and start looking for another one. So that's where we are right now. We are heavily looking into, because this is the lane we've chosen. The lending company is still active. We can still do that, but right now we really want to grow that, generational wealth for the kids and have something for them, when we're not here anymore. And so we're really looking for that. That's our main focus right now.
I love it. So what does it take for you to find parks? I guess you used a bird dogger on that one. Are you actively searching out bird doggers? Or are you guys looking for the parks yourselves? How are you coming across these different opportunities?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both because I think there are a lot of people out there in the bird dog role that realize there's a lot of people looking for things and they can still get paid to be that, seeker. So we don't mind where it comes from. I mean, we'll certainly put time into looking as well, but we're more than happy to work with a bird dogger because then that's one more person that gets to win on something. But, you have to keep in mind that everything is a number as well. And if the numbers don't work, then they don't work. And Caitlin is an absolute whiz. She's like performs magic with the way she structures things. I admire that so much about her, and she's an amazing underwriter. So a fabulous partner. I truly like, we're like yin and yang in business. She's definitely the numbers and the, structuring side of things. And I'm the people person. Not that she isn't, but that's kind of more of what I do. I build the rapport and, try to get that connection to understand where the pain is or how we can help them and things like that. But again, it's like a perfect match. So I think what we're doing now is hoping that things come our way. I mean, we've tried to display enough of how we operate to people. So I would hope that they would want to work with us. And we'll also be looking on our own.
So if somebody wanted a bird dog with you, how would they reach out to you, and what are you looking for?
Okay, so what we're looking for is going to be kind of funny because we don't want to miss opportunities based on putting ourselves in a specific box. And that's one thing that Caitlin talks about all the time is that I want the ability to kind of mold what we can turn up as a proper structure. And if that doesn't work, we can do something else. But if we say, oh, we don't want any pads, under 50, and someone comes out with one that's got 35, but yet it's exactly what we want, like boutique style. And, I think we'd be open to hearing about it. And we don't want to say if it's not that amount of pads, then we won't hear about the deal. And it could be amazing. So, but what we would have put out right now is more along the lines of 50 pads or more is the ideal scenario, creative only, um, city sewer and septic, water and sewer. And just someone who's open to the creative world and realizing that our intent is to give that half and half. You get to walk away with a smile, we get to walk away with, everybody's happy at the end of it. Most owners who have started these parks for and been engaged in them for several years, they really didn't think about their future. They didn't think about how they would retire and where the money would come from. So that's a main reason of why we like to stay in the creative area with creating those kinds of structures, because this way everybody's is getting what they need, and that's the main focus for us. It's important to us.
How does that help them for somebody that might not understand creative?
It's kind of the way we've taken both of these parks into account. The first one is basically we take all their debt and we pay it. So it's kind of like a sub two of a park, if you will. But we typically look to buy the business, buy the entity that owns it. And even with the second park, we were going to give them a certain amount down, which was actually it's actually 1.2 million. And the park was going for 4.2. We brought them down to 4.1. And then we were going to be giving them monthly payments, so something around 16,000 a month or so. And then after 6 years, they would have a balloon and then we would pay it off. So for them, I mean, I wouldn't mind those terms if I was the seller. And again, it was focused on making sure that they had, we could meet their price and be able to do it over time, which helps us as the buyer to be able to kind of get our feet wet in the works of the business, make sure that we're doing things as they were before to keep the momentum going. They had a very strong brand, and that was something that was also difficult because we are not them. And if 65% are our return customers or guests, they're going to be looking for them. So we thought about that too. But ideally, back to the purpose and the creative side, it really does make more sense for anyone in that position to go creative versus traditional, but they need to be educated and they need to understand how it works. And that's probably the biggest struggle for any of us that are doing this in educating somebody without making them feel insulted or not understanding what the purpose and the structure is for. And it ultimately is for both parties.
So now the 1.5 million or whatever the number was that you needed, do you capital raise for that? Where does that money come from?
So we actually have one particular partner who is more of the funding sponsor. So she was going to come in and basically pay all of it at once, which is very difficult to find. But I think the challenge that they're going to have now trying to sell this park is finding someone like that. Because if there was a raise involved, the numbers wouldn't number. And that's, I think, and if no one is educating them about that, they're going to have a hard time because again, it's beautiful. It's turnkey. There's no question, but they have a certain number in mind that likely no one would provide without having to raise it. And, that they're going to have to adjust prices. They're going to have to do all kinds of things probably to make it move with someone else. But we were very, very conscious of what we were offering. And again, wanted to make sure that it was going to fulfill what they needed in their future.
That's too bad for them. I mean, but that's what happens. Emotions get in the way of business sometimes. And what are we going to do? So, and when you say that the numbers don't number when you capital raise, it's because we're bringing in too many more investors, and now too many people want pieces of the pie, and it starts breaking that pie up till we're left with crumbs, and it's just not going to work.
And money costs money.
Mm-hmm.
We were open to having our financial partner, get equity at the end of the deal. And she was willing to do that. And she's done many lends with us already through the She Lends business. She trusts us. Again, we built that relationship strong. And she's waiting right now. We told her yesterday, we kind of broke the news to her yesterday, and she's ready to find the next one and move forward. So I think, again, relationships are so critical to this business, but we feel very passionate about making sure that we're protecting our financial partners and the business and the sellers. So we're very conscious and make sure that that's what makes a deal really work.
Well, this has been awesome. I'm learning so much about all of these little pieces. I'd love to have you back sometime and hear about your next park and hear about the strategies that you came up with. Dig into the underwriting a little bit more. Maybe we get Caitlin on
I
here
was going to say
sometime.
that you're going to need her. We'll see what we could do about convincing her to do that.
So everything works out. God knows the desires of our hearts, and His plan is for us to have the desires of our heart. He plants them in our hearts. So when we walk that path, things work out. Well, anyway, regardless of whether we can get Caitlin on here or we can just get her knowledge, imparted into you on the next part of the journey, I definitely want to, see what's going on. So I will be watching you. I watch you on social. So if somebody wants to bird dog, they can find you, your social channels. I see you've got your number on here. How would you want somebody that wants to either learn more or bring you properties? How do people get a hold of you?
I think probably the best way is they're more than welcome to call me at the number, which is 407-498-5652. If they prefer going the route of email, they can certainly use my She Lens email, which is barb@she-lens.com. Social, I think Instagram is at BarbieP15. So you should be able to find me. So I obviously share my contact information because we're more than happy to work with other people. We would love to have another RV park right now, but we'll just wait until the right one comes along, because I completely agree with you. I think one of the famous comments, and I'm going to steal it from her because she's not here. So Caitlin always says, patience, protection, and redirection. And I truly believe that that is the way we need to think, because sure, we'll have a moment of disappointment, but the excitement that comes in with something that really feels right, there's nothing else like it.
That sounds perfect. So, Barb, thanks so much for sharing your story. I know so many women are listening right now, and they're going to walk away feeling inspired and reminded that if we just continue moving forward, that we can do amazing things. I love Caitlin's way of describing how life works out sometimes, and it's so perfect. So, and any of you that are tuning in, thank you for spending time with us. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and remember, a wise woman will prosper. So buy the field, plant the vineyard, and watch it multiply.